Hello everyone, and welcome to the public open house for 294 Gorham Road and 3819 Hibbard Street. Currently you have been placed in a virtual attendee waiting room. You can hear and see myself and the panelists, but we cannot hear or see you quite yet. We will be starting in about 30 seconds, beginning with a brief presentation from town staff and the agent, followed by an opportunity for residents to ask any questions or provide comments. At that time, we will ask you to raise your virtual hand if you wish to speak. To do so, you can, if you're joining by a computer, laptop, or mobile device, you can do this by pressing the raise hand button. And to do this, click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom of center of your computer or phone screen. And then at the bottom of that window, click the button labeled raise hand. If you're joining by telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And at that time, we will provide you with 5 minutes to provide comments. So I'll revisit that when we get to that portion of the meeting, but I will hand it over to Anamika now.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Welcome everyone to the Public Information Open House meeting for the proposed draft plan of condominium, vacant land condominium and zoning bylaw amendment. Application for 3819 Hibbard Street and easterly portion of 294 Gorham Road. I'm Anamika Delvaria, Senior Development Planner with the town. As you're aware, the applicant, the owner is proposing to develop the subject lands for a 5-block townhouse development, which would include 19 dwelling units. And that's the reason we are here today to discuss the proposal. I would like to mention that this is an opportunity for the area residents to bring up any questions or any concerns that they may have at tonight's meeting. We are here to listen to you today, and the discussion we have today would be included in the information report that would be presented to council at a later date. I'm joined today by Mackenzie Sissy, planning technicians with the town, Brian Keegan, owner of the subject property, Mary Lou Tanner and Ria Davis from Niagara Planning Group. And now I would like to request Ms. Davis to make her presentation.
Thank you, Anamika. Just gonna get my screen shared here. I'm hoping my screen is visible. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Ria Davis. I'm a planner at NPG Planning Solutions. I'm here with our principal planner, Mary Lou Tanner, and our client, Mr. Brian Keenan from Brockview Cottages and Building. We are here to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application for the lands at 3819 Hibbard Street and 294 Gorham Road. So the lands are comprised of 2 properties, parcel 1 at 3819 Hibbard Street, and there's parcel 2, which is the eastern portion of 294 Gorham Road. The property measures roughly 0.73 hectares in size in total and has a total frontage of approximately 142 meters on Hibbard Street. Both parcels are currently vacant, and there's a shed on parcel 2 close to the northern property line. Now, surrounding the property are residential uses to the north. The western portion of 294 Gorham contains a vacant storage building, and it's shown as commercial on this figure. There's Friendship Trail to the south and a fencing company to the east. Proximity to Gorham Road and Friendship Trail provides opportunity for transit connections, access to nearby grocery stores, schools, parks, and employment opportunities. Now, wanted to take some time to dive a little deeper into the proposal that we have here. As Anamika mentioned, the proposal is for 19 bungalow townhouse units, and they're being proposed at a density of 25.7 units per hectare. These units are arranged along the property line, and they all have access to an internal drive aisle. We are proposing 28 driveway parking spaces. Each unit will also have garage spaces, but they have not been included in the parking calculations as the town's zoning bylaw does not contemplate tandem parking. There are 3 visitor parking spaces, including accessible spaces provided along here. You can see my mouse. So in total, parking for this development will be provided at a rate of 1.6 spaces per dwelling unit. To facilitate this development, we are also proposing an adjustment to the boundary. This will increase the frontage of parcel 1, that is 3819 Hibbard Street, from 100 meters, and you can see that currently shown in blue on this figure, and the increase is to 142 meters, and the revised property line is shown in red on this figure as well. This boundary adjustment will be implemented through the concurrent vacant land condominium application. Now, this slide shows the town's official plan with the proposed new site boundary overlaid. 3819 Hibbard Street and the eastern portion of 294 Gorham Road are both designated medium to high density residential, and you can see that shown in orange. As you can see, a small portion of parcel 2, which is currently designated commercial, will be part of the subject lands. We have reviewed relevant official plan policies, and we've also discussed with staff to determine this boundary adjustment is minor and will not require an official plan amendment. Now, in the next 2 slides, we want to take you through the requested amendments, which is the majority portion of this application. So to start off, the application is to rezone the lands to a site-specific residential multiple 1 zone. And going from left to right, we are requesting an increased lot coverage of 42%, where the maximum allowed is 40%. We think this is minor as it provides residential intensification on the lands. The next is reduction in the minimum rear yard to 2.5 meters at the pinch point of Unit 4 and the south property line. Here, the requirement is to have a 6-meter setback. And associated with this is the ask for reducing the minimum setback for covered porches and decks, in which we are providing 2.45 meters, and the requirement is 3 meters. We think the proposed setbacks are appropriate as the property is tapering towards the west end, which is where the pinch point is created. Further, there are no residential units directly abutting the south lot line to cause any major privacy concerns. And I'll also note that we are proposing landscape treatments here to buffer it from Friendship Trail. We are requesting a reduction in the minimum front yard to 1.7 meters, and this is occurring due to the proposed porches for units 12, 13, and 14 along the front lot line. The provision is less than the town's requirement of 6 meters. We think bringing the dwellings closer to the street will provide eyes on street benefits to the neighborhood. And the dark green area that is shown on this figure is envisioned to contain landscaping, which will maintain privacy for the future residents, and will also add to the visual character of the Hibbard streetscape. Next one is reduction in the minimum landscaped area to 34%, where the town's requirement is 50%. This is appropriate as it establishes medium density residential development on the property, as envisioned in the town's official plan. The reduction is also justified due to the site's proximity to Friendship Trail, connecting it to parks and other recreational opportunities. We're also seeking for a reduction in the minimum distance between buildings on the same lot. Here, between units 7 and 8, the distance is 2.4 meters, where the town requires 3 meters. Since it is between 2 side walls, we don't anticipate having any internal privacy concerns. So on the next slide, again, starting from the left, a planting strip is required of the nature of 4.5 meters along the street. And we are providing 1.7 meters at the pinch point, which we think is sufficient to accommodate landscaping features. And based on this, we think the intent of this regulation is actually met, which is to enhance the streetscape along Hibbard Street. Next, there is a general policy in the town's bylaw requiring 30% of the front yard to be used as landscaped area. We are providing 6.3%. The requested reduction is appropriate as the intent of the provision is being met through the 1.7 meter wide planting strip. And the on-site common amenity area also provides this along the site frontage. So I can just point that to you here. This is where the common amenity area is envisioned to be. Going to the next variance, the town's zoning bylaw requires a minimum depth of 4.5 meters adjacent to dwelling units, which is essentially to serve as a private area for future residents. This variance can be supported as units 12, 13, and 14 will contain courtyards, which will serve as a private area for future occupants. So I'll just quickly note here that it's only units 12, 13, and 14 that do not meet the 4.5 requirement. All other units are provided with that 4.5 meter privacy depth. Lastly, for the courts and yards, there is a requirement in the town's bylaw for the width of a courtyard to not be less than the height of the abutting building. Now, this requirement is to ensure that courtyard spaces are not overshadowed by abutting structures. And we think it's more applicable for buildings with multiple stories. The proposed bungalow townhouses are only 1 story high, which is why we think the request can be supported. We have completed a number of studies and submitted them as part of our application. They include the environmental site assessment, servicing and stormwater management, and a noise brief to accompany this application. So quick note on the environmental site assessment piece. This site is considered brownfield as it is currently vacant and underutilized due to the previous industrial uses on the site. The study checks for potential contamination because of the past uses and recommends if remediation is required prior to proposing any residential uses. Next, I wanted to quickly show you what the proposed vacant land condominium plan looks like. So this is shown here for your information. And as I mentioned before, this application is what will be used to implement the boundary adjustment. So in conclusion, the proposed development is supported by the provincial policy statement, the growth plan, the Niagara Region official plan, and the Town of Fort Erie official plan. The proposed development provides an opportunity for intensification and redevelopment within the built-up area, and more specifically on brownfield lands. We have consciously designed the site to have eyes on the street benefits, and we think the development is compatible with the surrounding land uses, while making efficient use of the available services and infrastructure, which will ultimately enable it to be an integrated residential space. This concludes our presentation, and I want to thank all of you for joining us today. The team and I are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, for your presentation. So maybe if you can stop sharing the screen and then we can go to the residents if they have any questions.
Thanks, Anamika. So at this time, I'd like to invite our attendees in the virtual waiting room to raise their virtual hands if they'd like to ask any questions or provide comments. So to do this, for those joining by computer, laptop, or mobile device, you can do this by pressing the raise hand button. If you click on the icon labeled participants at the bottom center of your screen. At the bottom of the window, there will be a button labeled raise hand. And if you're joining by telephone, which I don't think we have anyone, you can do this by pressing *9. And again, we'll be sticking to a 5-minute time limit. And then if time remains at the end, we can certainly bring you back in if you have any additional comments. So I see that we have Alan with his hand up, so I'll bring him in. Hi, Alan, can you hear us?
Alan, can you hear us? We are not able to hear you properly. No, maybe you have to increase your volume or maybe join again, maybe Mackenzie?
Yeah, he's not on mute right now. You may be able to call in as well, Alan, if you're having issues. Annemiek, the Zoom information that you would have sent would have included the telephone number, or was it just the Zoom link? Otherwise, if you go to the Town of Fort Erie website, we have the telephone numbers available under the public notice there, and I can also put it in the chat, the information. And maybe what I'll do is I'll bring you back into the waiting room, and maybe we can correspond via chat in the meantime, so we can get you set up, Alan. So I'm not seeing any other hands up, Annemiek. Maybe I'll just give a moment for someone to raise their hand while I give the full information in the chat.
Absolutely, yeah. And I just want to mention, if anybody is watching the presentation on this meeting on YouTube, you can always contact me and send me email if you have any questions. Okay. Mackenzie, we would wait for Alan to, if he can join back and has questions. Otherwise, what we could do is we can put the presentation in a loop, and because there are no attendees, we can just run this presentation till 6 o'clock if nobody else would join us.
Okay, would that be done on our end, or is that something that you would be?
No, you would have to do it.
Okay, so just screen share and put it on a loop.
Yeah, and let's wait for Alan to, if he has, maybe he's joining us by phone now.
Sounds good.
So we did have a call-in user join. To the call-in user, if you could raise your virtual hand, you can do that by pressing *9 if you'd like to speak. Okay, so let's try to bring in the call-in user. Perhaps that is.
Yeah. Square box. Yeah. So it's not like it has to get it's one level.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. There's a little bit of feedback. Do you have
Hey,
Zoom
well,
open on your
hold on a second here. How's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had volume through my computer. I don't know why you could not hear me through my computer. Obviously, I cannot join via my computer camera because it did not work. However, I did want to make some comments and some concerns. I did send an email earlier through Anamika, so she is aware of some of these things already. So, you know, I don't know how many of these things have been raised or are of a concern. One thing I did want to mention, Rhea mentioned that they're doing all kinds of wonderful things to beautify the area on Hibbard Street to make it palatable for the community. That's wonderful, but what about the people behind the facility, on the other side of the Friendship Trail? I've only been looking at this area for the last 50 years. And if you start by putting up an 8-foot wooden fence, I'm not going to be thrilled. Did you get that?
Hi, Alan. Thanks for that comment. Yes, I got that. We're certainly taking note of what you have mentioned here. I'll just plug in here that, yes, we do have plans of fencing, but along with that, we also have plans of landscaping that strip as well. So it's not just, you know, a wooden fence that you'd be seeing. There would be additional treatments that will be part of this.
Okay. Well, I believe that Anamika probably forwarded my email to you, and it had a lot of different areas of concern in the email. So I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to address most of those points. Okay. One of the things that I was really concerned with, that's my email, by the way. Yeah. One of my concerns was the fact that I'm very worried about encroachment on the Friendship Trail. And please don't tell me it doesn't happen, because all I have to do is walk 150 yards up the road to what I lovingly call the Ridgeway Prison to see where another enclosed or fenced-in area like yourself has encroached upon the trail tremendously and left basically a 6-foot path for people to pass by. Okay, so that's concern number one. Number two is, if you guys are making this a totally fenced-in and gated community, how does that fit with the small town feeling of Fort Erie and Ridgeway? I see in the map that you guys have provided that there's 2 access portions that lead right back to almost out to the bicycle path, and I'm wondering why you don't continue those right to the bicycle path and leave them open for access from people on the Hibbard Street and the other side to be able to get to the bicycle path without having to go the long way around to Gorham Road. Okay, so those are a couple of suggestions by me. You will notice that on the other side of your development area, right by the bicycle path, the area, the lawn, if you will, has been well manicured, primarily because we, meaning the residents and myself, have mowed that area, never mind the town. We, the residents ourselves, have mowed that area to keep it neat and clean and tidy. And we are trying to make that for all the community to utilize. And we would appreciate if these 19 facilities, which I don't think anybody in the town of Fort Erie is going to be able to afford anyway, would have access to the bicycle path through there as well. Any comments?
Alan, thanks again. So just for the last point that you raised here, I'm not entirely certain about the lands that you're talking about, so I don't want to comment before that. But once I get a better understanding of it, we can certainly provide you with a response of how we plan to address it.
Well, I do know I do notice that whatever construction crew you had finally cut down the field that was back there. But they probably noticed as they were doing it that there were many small paths that had been walked through from Hibbard Street all the way to the bicycle path. This has been a normal travel route for a very, very long time. Even before the Friendship Trail or / bicycle path was there, even to the railroad tracks, Eddie Firetag, who used to own the property that you now own, allowed access through there for kids and stuff to that effect who would take their bicycles through there. And now all kinds of people who use the bicycle path walk through that property almost on a daily basis. And I don't think it would be really fair to cut all that access off. And I'm assuming that if you cut all that access off, the first thing you're going to do is put a gate up there so that the people in that property area can get through to the bicycle path, which again is not fair to the local residents. It should be left open for them as an open and inviting community rather than a gated, and I won't say what I think of gated areas.
Alan, if you don't mind, can I quickly share my screen and show Ria where you want the access to be located?
Sure, by all means.
Okay, let me quickly share.
I have no control over what you're sharing on the screen. So I'm just glad I was able to get through on the phone. It took me forever. I had to go back to the original email and find the original access number and then the passcode. And it's not easy to get through here.
All right. So and correct me if I'm wrong, based on your discussion, you would like the access to be continued. This should be an open access for the residents. And similar.
Well, first of all, I don't see a map area on my screen at all. Oh, there it is. Okay, finally.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I see it here. Yeah. There are two on the south side. Yeah, that's one, and the other one is right over there. There's no reason that those cannot be kept open. And if you want privacy fences for the residences, well then just close off the corner there, but leave the roadway access open.
So
and I mean, if people are worried about the extremely high crime rate in Fort Erie, I can understand that. You know, like we should probably increase the police presence here from the 0 cars that we get now to, well, about 0 cars for the crime rate that we have in this area. So I really have a big difficulty with seeing gated communities because I don't see us needing gated communities in a friendly town. But even, I understand the need for privacy and, these little boxes that you're showing me here, all 19 of them, may want to keep themselves all fenced in, but those 2 roadways here can be left, open right through to the bicycle path. Yeah, and just take on either side of that roadway and put the fence right through there so that those areas are fenced in and they can't be gotten to by the general public, yet the general public can still wander down the road and get right to the Friendship Trail.
All right. Thank you, Alan. So I just wanted to make sure that Priya and Mary Lou would know what you're talking about, the access location.
Yeah, because if you see on the south side of their fence, where the green part of the Friendship Trail, that's the Friendship Trail, but to the north of that, all that green area there is literally pretty much landscaped. We have been mowing it for over 50 years, okay? And no, that's not the town that mows that, although they come by twice a year to cut whatever they think they can there. But we, the residents, are the ones that keep that lawn neat and clean and tidy. Okay, so in reality, those residents that live along the south side there would have a wonderful area for children to play in or for young adults. Like I've had people that have had soccer practices out there. I've had people that play small baseball games, fly kites. It's a great, wonderful park area. And of course, we have lots of people riding their bikes and walking along the trail as well.
Mhm.
So with that in mind, all those residents on the other side of Hibbard Street there walk right through there without having to go to the busy street of Gorham Road and the possibility of meeting with traffic.
Thank you, Alan, for your comments.
Okay, so anyway, I'm sure that Ria and Mary Lou are going to have my email passed to them. I'm assuming that's what you're going to do, correct, Anamika?
Yeah,
Please
absolutely.
take them into consideration. I'm more than willing to discuss or talk. As I said, I've been a resident here for over 50 years. We use our backyard frequently. My backyard has no fence in it, which basically means all are welcome. And so, and I prefer it that way. This is a small town where, kind of like the old Cheers place, everybody knows your name. So, and if you're wondering which house is mine, if you're in the area, you will see that there's a small chicken coop back there. So, just to let you know, the house that belongs to me. All right. I'm more than happy to talk to you guys, offer any suggestions. And like I said, I've been watching that particular property for over 50 years, and I would hate to see it turn into some kind of a monstrous land eyesore. So please take that into consideration. You're going to beautify the Hibbard Street side. You should literally think about beautifying the bicycle path street side as well. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Alan.
Alan. Okay, so I don't see anybody else in the attendee area. Mackenzie?
No, that's everyone.
Sure. So, Ria, would it be possible for you to put the presentation in the loop?
For sure.
And anybody who wants to join the meeting, we would be here till 6 o'clock. And please feel free to join the meeting and ask any questions that you may have.
And Meek, I'm just trying to figure out how to put it on a loop. So just bear with me for a second.
Yeah, just make it go at whatever time frame you want. It's just that if somebody is watching it on YouTube, we just want to make sure that they are, if they're joining us late, they are able to view the presentation.
Okay. Okay, that's too fast.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining this meeting. And like I said before in my during the presentation, that it would be, if anybody would like to get in touch with us, with the town staff, or have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I would be happy to answer those questions. And if I'm unable to do that, I would forward those questions to the applicant and try to get those answers for you. Thank you again for attending this meeting.